Also wanted to welcome Charlie back. He's been back, but his class is back. Some of you sat in this morning, and if you haven't, you're missing a wonderful opportunity. I've got a great little political history lesson this morning on the presidents, so that was good. And of course, that's all on our minds, is it not? The election Tuesday. There's just been so much angst around this election, and there was a lot in the last two, but there's so much angst around this one. I mean, people are short-tempered and ill-mannered. They're getting sick. They're missing work. It's crazy, you know. And I talked to one young lady a couple days ago who's going to be voting in her first election. She's 21, and she said she's been attached to the television set constantly, you know, because there's this 24/7 news coverage of everything. She said, I don't know what I'm going to do when this is over. I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. Now, what will people do? The news junkies and all of the talking heads. I mean, they've been milking this for almost 2 years. And the late night comedians. I mean, it never stops. I mean, this has been their bread and butter, the grist for their mill for a year. And they're making fun of everybody, even Obama, and who's not easy to make fun of because he's so cool. He never gets upset. It's hard to make fun of this guy. But he did get really upset recently. Someone accused him and his proposals of lacking any real specifics, any real substance. And I guess he just flew off the handle. He just went ballistic. And so this reporter went to him and said, Senator, we heard that you really flipped out over this accusation that your proposals lack any specifics. Did you really get that mad? And he said, well, yeah. He said, I really did. He said, I just lost it. But apparently when the reporter pressed him for details as to why he got so mad, Obama refused to give him any specifics. And so he's hard to make fun of. Now McCain and Palin, well, I mean, that's a no-brainer. I mean, you got this old white guy and a woman, okay? And it's interesting to me, in our politically correct society, some things are taboo and some things are not. Like, racism is taboo. You can't make any jokes about race. Sexism is more or less taboo, more or less. Ageism is wide open. You can make jokes about old people all the time. And there will come a day when that won't be the case, but I've heard more McCain jokes involving incontinence and memory loss than I can remember, you know. It's just crazy. And it gets very personal. It gets very personal. In fact, somebody actually hacked into Sarah Palin's computer and got into her private email account. And initially they thought McCain himself might have had something to do with it. But then they realized that in order to do that, you needed to have two things. You needed to have a basic understanding of computer technology, and you needed to have some interest in Palin's personal history. So that excluded McCain. Okay, well, I give it equal time now, Charlie. I give it equal time. But there is so much angst over the election. I mean, everything that's happening in the world right now, the economy, the war. But I thought it was interesting when the economy went into a tailspin, the issue of the war was totally placed on the back burner. It's like nobody cares about it anymore. Nobody worries about it anymore. Which tells me something, because I have this feeling that what we worry about tells me what we value. And what do we really worry about? What we really worry about is what happens to our money. And that's what we're anxious about right now more than anything. That's the number one issue. The economy has eclipsed everything else. But there is a lot of angst, and there's a tremendous amount of worry about the election and what will happen after the election. And I've heard people say, well, if McCain wins, then there's going to be this, the blacks are going to riot in the streets. Or if Obama wins, there's going to be this neo-Nazi backlash. If McCain wins, I'm going to move to Mexico. If Obama wins, I'm going to move to Europe. all of this angst. And one psychological explanation is that in times of great anxiety and uncertainty, that all of our hopes and fears are magnified. Or maybe we just project all of this stuff onto the president, who becomes kind of a father figure for us. I don't know. But it affects people. It's affected everybody in our society. And I'm sure it's affected our congregation in many ways. It's affected you. And I'm sure it's affected in some ways our group dynamic. But I think we know that for most of us and for our congregation, after the election is over, and some of us will be celebrating and some of us will be mourning Tuesday night, but after it's over, that life will go back to business as usual for most of us. And our congregation will go back to business as usual. And as I thought about that, I realized that, one of the neat things about this congregation is that we share a kind of a unity and a kind of bond which really kind of transcends political division here. We really do. I mean, we have different ideas, different viewpoints, different perspectives, but we talk about these things knowing that we have different political ideologies, and yet there's something deeper which binds this congregation together, which is very unusual. I've been around, I've seen it. And most congregations they coalesce around common beliefs or a common lifestyle, and they're divided up into lifestyle enclaves and homogeneous units. So that if you belong to a church, it's usually with people who think like you, who have the same politics as you, who drive the same kind of cars as you, and so forth. And I think that's one of the real beauties of this congregation. So life will go on for all of us. But regardless of who wins or who loses, regardless of what happens in the political world or in the economic world or in your personal world, there is a deeper peace and a deeper place that you can go. Peace in every step, peace in every breath, which is possible for all of us. Be anxious in nothing, but in all things, with prayer and with your heart's deepest longing, let your concerns be made known to God, and the peace of God, which passes all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. That is what I call the Philippian formula for peace. And I want to bring it to you this morning in 3 easy pieces.